Hi, my name is Nader Nasruddin. I'm the community manager for ProfBot.ai, and it is my pleasure to walk you through on this quick and easy tutorial demo video on how to register on ProfBot as a professor, as well as how to create and publish a quiz using the website features. So let's get right into it. We're going to hit the Get Started button. And let's say this is my first time registering an account with ProfBot, even though my login credentials are saved to my MacBook. We're going to just pretend as if this is my first time creating an account. So if that's the case for you, you're going to hit the register button underneath sign in. And you're going to populate the missing details, so your own personal details to create your account. So for my first name, I'll obviously put my first name, Nader, my last name, Nasruddin. Now, the biggest important thing to note here is that when you're going to input your email address, you don't want to use your personal email address, like the @gmail or @hotmail.com, because ProfBot doesn't recognize your personal email addresses. It will only accept your university email domain. So for instance, since I attended Toronto Metropolitan University and work for the university, my email domain would be @torontomu.ca or whatever it is for your university or school. And so I'm going to put in my email address, nasruddin@torontomu.ca. I'll select my position as professor, and then I'm going to create an 8-digit password. Make sure that it's unique to you and something that you can memorize. Afterwards, you're going to accept the terms of service, and then you're going to hit create an account. Once you create an account, you're going to get an email that looks exactly like this. Now, there is a chance that this email falls under your spam folder. So just double check all your inboxes just to make sure that you did receive it. And all it is just to confirm and verify your email address. And once you do so, you'll click the URL link that is listed there, and it'll redirect you back to the ProfBot website where you'll sign in, and that will confirm your whole registration process. All right, so once you've confirmed and verified your email address, you're going to be taken to the dashboard right over here. And the page that we're going to spend a lot more time on in this demo is the quiz page. This is where you'll see all your quizzes in your library, as well as how do we create and publish one. So to do that, we're going to go to the left-hand corner, and under quiz, you'll drop down the menu and you'll select all quiz. All right, so let's pretend that we never made a quiz. So obviously there are a few that you see on the screen, but let's pretend we've never made one yet. So in order to do that, we're going to hit the plus new button next to the word quizzes, and you're going to give your quiz a title. So let's call it Strategic Management Key Terms Quiz. And the start date is basically when will this quiz be made available to your students. So let's say we'll have it made available on the 31st. And we're going to give it an end date. So when is it going to be available up until a certain date? So let's give the students 1 week. We'll be very generous here. And then the status is basically you only have two options. It's either the draft or the publish mode. We're going to keep it under draft since we don't have our questions populated yet. But once you're confident and you have all your questions entered in, then you are okay to publish it, so long as it's before the start date that you've indicated on there. And then you're going to hit add, and then you're going to close this menu here. And then you're going to look for it here. So strategic management key terms quiz. So what you'll see is a bunch of information written across horizontally. So the first column is just telling you the number of questions that you've entered in. So obviously we haven't entered anything in, but we will soon. The start and end date. The number of attendees is basically the number of students that have actually taken your quiz using the URL that you sent them. And in order to do that, you're going to copy the URL. Once you see the check mark, it means that you're good to go and you're good to send it off, or whether that's through email or whatever method you use to communicate with your students to send them the quiz URL. And they should be able to access it once they register a student account on ProfBot. And then you'll see the status feature right next to it, and then how to add a question. So just to double check, perfect. This is the quiz that we want to add questions to. We're going to hit add. It'll say that there are no records to display because we haven't added any questions yet. So to do so, you're going to hit the plus new button, and you're going to add a question. One thing to know, or one important thing to note is you want to keep your questions explicit and objective. Those questions tend to perform much better than subjective and open-ended questions. So an example of an explicit and objective question, at least for a strategic management course, could be, what is the definition of a tactic? So in the next button, in the next box, apologies, you'll actually write your answer that you want your students to respond, or the correct answer that ProfBot will analyze and double check with the students' responses. So you want to make sure that you are very clear and explicit here. So tactic is an action a company takes to achieve a short-term result. Okay, perfect. And then below it is the grading rubric. That just basically means how many points or how many marks you want to allocate for this question. So for a question like, what is the definition of a tactic? We'll give it 1 mark. So we'll give it 1 point. And then you'll hit add, and then you'll see the question here. If you ever make a mistake where you add the question and you need to just edit or revise it, maybe you want to give it more marks than you thought earlier, you're just going to hit this edit button. And then you're going to just basically change it to 2 marks, not 21, 2 marks, and then hit update. And then you're going to close the drop-down menu. And then you're good to go. And then you'll add more questions. Another thing to also note is that you want to have a minimum of at least 6 questions, up to 50 questions. This just provides more variety, because when your students actually take the quiz, they'll have 5 questions that are chosen from random through the bank of questions that you've created. So in other words, each student's quiz will always be different. So they're never going to be the same. But they will be taken, but 5 of them will be taken away from the bank of questions that you've created under here. All right, so once you've completed inputting all your questions, we're ready now to publish it. So to do that, we're going to go back to the left-hand column and we're going to hit all quiz. And you'll see that our quiz is still in draft mode. So to change that, we're going to go under actions. We're going to hit the edit button. And we're going to turn our quiz from draft mode to publish by clicking the drop-down menu. And then you're going to hit update. And you'll know that that's worked when you've seen this change under status. So your quiz is published and it's ready to go. And you are good to copy the URL and share it with your students to practice. You want to encourage your students to practice with it as much as they can to just make sure that they're ready and they're confident and that they know the material ahead of the exam date that they're scheduled to take it. But if you yourself as the professor want to practice and just to double check everything works before you even publish it, you can just hit the start button and you'll get 5 questions at random taken from the bank of questions that you've created, and the students will only have 5 minutes to complete it. So they should have about 1 minute per question. So just keep in mind of that when you are actually creating your questions. So we're going to start the quiz. You'll see the timer going off. And so you'll basically answer the first question. So name and list all 5 forces that make up Michael Porter's 5 forces model, worth 5 marks. So you'll enter your answer and then ProfBot will analyze it once you hit next. You're going to hit the next button. All right, so once you've entered in your answer, you'll see that ProfBot is just analyzing your response and the timer will pause. So right away, you'll see your suggestion for your previous answer and it'll give you the score that you would have received. And then you'll continue the quiz as follows, and it will be the same thing from there. All right, and that concludes this demo tutorial for professors on how to use ProfBot, how to register an account, as well as how to create and publish a quiz. We hope that this tutorial has helped you navigate ProfBot.ai smoothly and effectively. And if you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out and one of our team members will help and assist you. Take care and all the best.